plate shatters against the wooden wall. The girl doesn't move. Porcelain slides down and breaks again on the floor. Her mother's hand is already raised before the sound dies. Look at me. I am. No. You're not. The slap lands flat across the girl's cheek. Her head turns with it, slow, like she expected it. She keeps her eyes open. That makes her mother angrier. Don't you stare at me like him. I'm not. You got his eyes. Same quiet. Same judgment. The girl says nothing. Water drips from the edge of the table where the cup tipped over. It spreads across the wood and falls to the floor in steady drops. Her mother grabs her by the wrist and shakes her once, hard. You think you're better than me? No, ma'am. Then cry. Silence. Cry. The girl swallows, but her face stays still. Her cheek reddens. Her lip trembles once and then stops. She looks past her mother's shoulder at the nail in the wall where a sheriff's badge hangs crooked from the apron hook. It glints in the low light like it's watching too. Her mother follows her gaze. You see that? That's protection. That's order. That's what keeps this house standing. The girl whispers, it didn't keep him. Her mother's hand rises again. The door creaks open before it can fall. Both of them turn. A tall man fills the doorway. Broad shoulders. Coat dusty from the road. Beard thick, eyes steady. He doesn't rush in. He just stands there, taking it in. This ain't a show, the mother snaps. Close that door. The man doesn't move. His eyes rest on the girl's wrist in her mother's grip. Purple marks layered over older yellow bruises. Let her go, he says. This ain't your business. It is now. The room tightens. The girl feels it like pressure in her ears. Her mother releases her wrist but steps in front of her instead. You lost? No. Then leave. He steps inside. The floorboards groan under his weight. He smells like pine and cold air. Not like town. Not like this house. I heard yelling, he says. You hear wrong. I don't. The girl stares at the floor. She can feel her mother's anger building again, turning hot and sharp. She braces for it. You come to preach? Her mother asks. No. You come to judge? No. Then what? He looks at the girl. Came to see if she's breathing. I am, the girl says softly. Her mother whips around. Don't speak unless I tell you. The man's jaw tightens. She can speak. She don't need to. She does. The mother laughs once, short and bitter. You know what she is? He doesn't answer. She's ungrateful. She's cursed. She brings rot into a room. Ever since she was born, something's been wrong. The girl's hands curl into her dress. She keeps her eyes open. That is the rule she made for herself. If she cries, it lasts longer. You're like him, her mother continues. Stubborn. Thinking you're above folks. I'm not above anyone, the girl says. The slap comes faster this time. The man moves, but he's a second too late. The sound cracks across the kitchen. Enough, he says. You don't tell me how to raise my own. He steps closer. That ain't raising. The badge on the wall catches the light again. The mother notices him looking at it. You see that? Sheriff stands with me. The man's voice drops. Does he? You don't know what she is, the mother spits. He holds her stare. Come. Certain. I know what you are. For a second, no one breathes. Then the mother laughs. And the laugh doesn't stop. Her laugh keeps going. It bends and stretches until it stops sounding human. The girl presses her hands over her ears, but it still gets through. The man does not step back. He watches the mother the way a hunter watches something wounded and dangerous. "You think you're brave," the mother says between laughs. "No. You think you're saving something?" "I'm stopping something." The laugh snaps off. Just like that. Silence drops heavy in the kitchen. The girl lowers her hands slowly. "Please," she whispers, barely sound at all. "Don't make it worse." The mother turns on her. "You think this is worse?" The man steps closer to the girl and kneels so his eyes meet hers. He keeps his voice even. "What's your name?" The girl looks at the floor. "She don't answer strangers," the mother says. He doesn't look away from the girl. "I ain't asking you." Silence. The girl's throat moves but no word comes. "It's all right," he says. "Just your name." Her lips part. "Nothing." She shakes her head once, like even that is too much. The mother folds her arms. "You see? Something wrong with her. Always has been." "What's wrong is fear," the man says. "She's fed. She's clothed. She's bruised. That's discipline. That's harm." The mother's eyes flash toward the badge on the wall. "Sheriff knows how I run my house." The man stands now, slow and steady. "Sheriff know about the rope marks on her wrists?" The girl instinctively hides her hands behind her back. The mother's voice hardens. "You ain't kin. I don't need to be. You got no claim here." Neither did her father when they locked him up. The room tightens again. The girl looks up at that. "Just for a second. Don't you speak on him," the mother says. "He died in custody," the man replies. "He took his own life." "That what they told you?" "That's what happened." The girl shakes her head before she can stop herself. The mother sees it. "You keep that head still." The man's eyes narrow. "What did she see?" "She saw nothing." The girl whispers, "I heard." Both adults freeze. "Heard what?" the man asks gently. The girl's breathing turns shallow. "Chains." The mother steps forward fast. "Enough." "Heard what?" he repeats. The girl swallows. "He was yelling." The mother's voice cracks sharp. "He was sick." "He was scared," the girl says. The words hang in the air. The man studies her face, the way her jaw tightens after speaking. "She brings shame," the mother says. "Running her mouth. Telling stories. That's what got him locked up in the first place." "What stories?" the man asks. "Lies." "I didn't lie," the girl whispers. The mother rounds on her. "You told folks he was fighting the land deal. You told folks the sheriff was stealing." The man's gaze flickers. "Land deal?" "Town business," the mother snaps. "Men's work." The girl looks at the man again. "He said it wasn't right." "He said too much," the mother says. The man reaches for the girl's wrist gently. She flinches at first, then lets him turn her arm. The skin shows thin scars beneath the bruises, older and deeper. "You tie her?" he asks. She wanders. "Where?" "To the well." The girl's eyes shift toward the back door. She sleepwalks, the mother continues. Talks to it like it answers. The man glances toward the yard beyond the window. "And does it?" The girl's voice is almost gone. "It hears." "Hears what?" he asks. "Everything." The mother steps between them again. "She belongs here. Under my roof." The man straightens to his full height. His shadow stretches across the floorboards and over the broken plate pieces. "She's coming with me." The mother stares at him like she misheard. "You don't get to decide that." "I just did." Headlights sweep across the kitchen walls, cutting through the dim light. The badge on the hook flashes bright gold. tires crunch on gravel outside. The girl stiffens. He's here. The mother's face shifts, something like relief and something like warning mixing together. Good. A truck door slams. Boots step onto the porch. The man's hand closes around the girl's small, shaking fingers. The front door opens without knocking. The sheriff steps inside as the man's grip tightens around her hand. The sheriff's hat comes off slowly, hand trembling just a little. He doesn't smile. His eyes move between the man, the girl, and the mother like he's trying to weigh who's telling truth, who's bluffing, who's holding the fire. What's happening here? His voice is calm, but the room stiffens around it. The mother steps forward, chest out. This man's a trespasser. He thinks he can take what isn't his. She's mine. Always has been. The man tilts his head. Ask her. The sheriff glances down at the girl. She looks up just a fraction. Long pause. Then a soft, yes, sir. She doesn't raise her eyes fully. Safe, the sheriff asks. Yes, sir. Her voice barely breaks the edge of fear. A small tremor runs through it. The man notices. The sheriff shifts, hand lingering near his holster. Your father, that incident. You remember? His voice falters just slightly. The girl stiffens. The mother grips the back of a chair. I told you, don't speak of it. The man reaches past her, placing a hand on the girl's shoulder briefly, firm but protective. She's not hiding from you. You threatening me? The sheriff asks, voice sharper now. No, the man says, steady. You sure sound like it. I don't back down, he says, eyes locked on the sheriff. The girl suddenly tugs at his coat, clutching the fabric like a lifeline. The mother flinches, a crack appearing in her rigid expression for the first time. The sheriff notices and narrows his eyes, unsettled. This ain't how things work here, he says. Maybe that's the problem, the man replies. The sheriff steps forward, hand reaching for the girl's shoulder. She recoils violently, a shudder running through her small body. You, he starts. She flinches for a reason, the man interrupts. And you know it. The mother huffs, face flushed with anger and fear. She's dramatic. Nothing more. The girl looks to the floor, fingers still clutching the man's coat. The well hears it, she blurts. The sheriff pauses mid-step, eyebrows knitting. Here's what, the man asks. Everything, she whispers. Her voice shakes, but she holds it steady enough that it carries weight. The mother scoffs, a harsh sound that rattles the wooden walls. She talks nonsense. You hear nonsense. The man doesn't respond. His eyes don't leave hers. The sheriff shifts again. This is why your father, he stops himself, swallowing. The mother steps closer to the girl, voice rising. You don't get to meddle in what's mine. Do you hear me? I hear you, the man says, calm. But she doesn't belong to fear. The sheriff moves slightly, like he wants to intervene, but hesitation knots him tight. The girl releases a breath she didn't know she was holding and steps a fraction closer to the man. His hand brushes hers. The mother's lips tighten. She glares at the badge hanging crooked on the wall, then back to the man. Her authority feels suddenly fragile. You think you can take her from me, she spits. She's coming with me, he says quietly, firmly. The sheriff swallows again, hand hovering near the girl's shoulder. He looks between the two adults, torn. His voice drops, this ain't how things happen here. Rules, tradition, laws. Maybe your rules are what got us here, the man interrupts. The girl squeezes the man's coat again. He notices her chin trembling, and for a moment, everything hangs still. The mother spits on the floor, a low, dangerous sound. You don't know what she is. The man's eyes stay locked on hers. I know what you are. The sheriff's hand twitches but doesn't touch her. The tension coils tight in the small kitchen, smells of sweat, dust, and old wood heavy in the air. The girl blinks once and looks past them both, toward the back door where the shadowed window shows the yard beyond. She doesn't say anything, but the shift in her stance is enough. The man nods slightly at her. The sheriff exhales, stiff, trapped between law and the truth in front of him. Outside, the wind picks up, brushing through the thin cracks in the boards, carrying the smell of dust and pine from the road. The badge glints one last time in the muted sunlight before the light shifts. The mother's jaw tightens, her anger simmering but unsteady. She knows, somehow, that this kitchen is no longer hers to command entirely. The girl tugs once more at the man's coat. His hand closes gently around hers. The sheriff finally steps back, just a fraction, his face unreadable. The mother hisses but says nothing. The girl breathes in slowly, small chest rising, and the man straightens beside her, shadow stretching across the floorboards. The weight of silence falls, broken only by the creak of the floor and the distant hum of life beyond the walls. The girl flinches again, not from fear this time, but from knowing what is finally coming. The girl recoils before the sheriff's hand can even touch her shoulder. Her small body curls slightly, tense and rigid. The sheriff hesitates mid-step, eyebrows furrowed, like he's realizing she's not pretending. The mother's face twists red, anger and frustration boiling over. "She's dramatic," she shouts, voice sharp enough to cut the air. The well hears it, the girl blurts, and her words hang heavier than any slap. The mother freezes, then scoffs, but the tension in her shoulders betrays uncertainty. The man steps closer, lowering his voice just enough for the girl to hear. "Here's what." "Everything," she whispers. Her eyes shift to the back door, toward the yard, toward the old well that stands like a dark sentinel behind the cabin. It has always been there. She's spoken to it before, alone in the night, her voice small against the wind, and it's never answered, but she knows it listens. The sheriff clears his throat. "We don't need," he stops himself, realizing the girl's words aren't nonsense. There's fear in his eyes now, thin and sharp. "We just need calm." The man's gaze sharpens. "Calm doesn't fix what's done." "Done? Done is what?" "She's a child," the mother shouts. Her hands shake slightly. Rage tries to cover the tremor in her voice. The girl's head dips, but she doesn't hide. "He died," she says softly, almost too soft for the room, "and you watched." The mother gasps, mouth open, then shuts it. She tries to step forward, but the man places a hand near her chest, not touching, just enough to signal authority. "Back up." The sheriff takes a step toward her, but the man's voice stops him. "You covered it. His death." "What are you?" the sheriff swallows. "That was an accident." The girl shakes her head. "No accident. You said it was suicide." Her words cut through the room sharper than any slap. The mother steps forward again, hand raised. "I told you to." The man grabs her wrist mid-air. She flinches, eyes widening with shock, fury, and disbelief all tangled together. "Enough," he says. "She's not yours to hurt." The mother struggles, but the grip is firm. Her lips curl back, and she whispers through clenched teeth, venom spilling out. "You don't know what she did." "What did she do?" the man asks, voice steady. "You wouldn't understand." "She's a child," the man replies evenly. "But I understand enough." The girl looks at him, small shoulders shaking. I just want it to stop." The mother laughs, a low, bitter sound. "Stop? There's no stopping it. She's cursed, I tell you. Nothing will ever be quiet while she's here." "She's scared," the man says. "Not cursed." "Cursed," the mother shrieks, voice echoing against the wooden walls. "Mark my words. She brings trouble. You'll see." The sheriff shifts, uncertain. Maybe we should calm down." "Calm down," the man interrupts, eyes hard. "Calm down? You covered a man's death and called it an accident. You let her live under fear. That's not calm. That's a crime." The mother jerks her hand free. "You don't know me. You don't know this house. You don't know anything. I know what you are, he says quietly, but it carries through the tension like a gunshot. The girl exhales sharply. Her body relaxes just a fraction, leaning into him slightly. He doesn't move. He's steady. Solid. A wall between her and everything that has hurt her. The mother takes a step back, chest heaving. The badge on the wall glints again, crooked in its hook, a silent witness to everything happening in this room. The sheriff looks between them, hand dropping slightly. He doesn't reach for her again. His mouth opens, closes, then shuts. The girl's voice is barely audible. He's not going to let it happen again. The man nods once. No. Not this time. Her mother glances at her, eyes flicking between the girl's face and the man's. Something shifts, the rigid armor of control cracking. Fear, anger, and uncertainty mixed together in her expression. She doesn't speak. She only glares, tight-lipped. The girl looks toward the back door again. The well looms there, dark and silent, and she whispers to it as if it can answer, "I'm not afraid." The man steps back just slightly. "And you won't be," he says. The mother's hand twitches, wanting to strike, wanting to assert dominance one last time, but she stops herself. She looks at the floor, her breathing quick and shallow. The weight of the truth in the room presses down. The sheriff shifts his stance, uneasy, uncertain, trapped between law, guilt, and what's right. The girl lets out a small, shaky breath, her hands curling into fists at her sides. "I'm done hiding," she says. The man meets her gaze, nods once, and the room feels like it tilts just a fraction, the balance of power shifting. The mother swallows hard, lips pressed together. Her next words are barely audible. You don't know what she's capable of." "I do enough," he says. His eyes never leave hers. The girl blinks once. Then her chin lifts. The fear doesn't vanish, but it loses some of its weight. The sheriff exhales, shoulders sagging. His hand drifts down. The mother huffs out a sound somewhere between frustration and disbelief. She glances at the badge again, then at the man, then at her daughter. The girl glances toward the back door one last time. The well stands silent. But she knows she has a choice now. The man tilts his head toward the door. "Come on," he says. She takes a small step toward him. The mother's lips part, but no words come. Outside, the wind stirs the dry leaves. Inside, the air is heavy. Something has shifted. Something has begun. The girl doesn't cry. She never will, not while he's standing there. Not while she knows the truth of who is watching and who is keeping her safe. The mother's face twists in anger, her eyes sharp and hard, but now there's something darker beneath it, a mix of fear and accusation. "You told lies," she spits at the girl, voice trembling. "You told lies that got him locked up. Do you hear me?" "I didn't," the girl shakes her head violently, small fists clenching at her sides. "I didn't lie." "Tell me," the man says quietly, kneeling to her level again. His voice is calm, steady, and heavy with patience. "Tell me what happened." "I told the truth," the girl whispers, almost afraid to even say it. Her eyes dart to the floor, then back at the mother. "I said what he did, what he saw. I said they were stealing the land, the people's land." The sheriff stiffens, jaw tight, and looks away. That's enough," he mutters, though his words sound hollow. "You don't get it," the mother snaps. "He's dead because of you. Because of what you said." "I said nothing that wasn't true," the girl cries, voice rising. "He needed someone to know. He trusted me." The man takes her wrist again, gently, turning it so that the bruises and rope scars are fully visible. "I know," he says. "I see it all." "You were supposed to be quiet," the mother hisses. "You ruined everything. You cursed him, cursed this house. Cursed me." The girl swallows, tears welling, but she does not look away. "He said the mountains don't lie," she whispers. "He said the mountains don't lie, and they saw what happened." The mother's lips curl back, fury and panic mixing. "Mountains?" What are you talking about? The man moves to the stove, carefully opening a hidden compartment. He pulls out a half-burned letter, its edges blackened and curling, the paper fragile beneath his fingers. He holds it carefully. This? The mother snaps toward him. Give that back. You can't. I can, he says softly. It's proof. And it's hers, not yours. The sheriff's eyes dart to the letter, and his hand twitches toward his belt. You can't take that. You take her, the man interrupts sharply, eyes hard on him, and you make this worse. The mother's hand trembles as she clutches the edge of the table. Her control feels suddenly fragile. You don't understand, she whispers. I understand enough, the man says. His voice doesn't waver. Enough to know she shouldn't be here under fear. Not anymore. The girl steps closer, small but steady, toward the man. I told the truth, she says again, voice firmer this time. I told the truth. That's all I ever did. The mother glares at her, eyes sharp with anger, lips pressed tight. You're cursed, she spits. Everything you touch turns to trouble. I'm not cursed, the girl says. I just want it to be right. The man folds the letter carefully and holds it out to the girl. It will be. You'll see it. But first, you have to leave fear behind. The mother stumbles back a step, fingers clenching the air. Fear? You think I fear? I built this house. I kept this town in order. Order built on lies isn't order, the man says. It's prison. The sheriff shifts uncomfortably. We can talk about this, he says quietly, though he avoids meeting the girl's eyes. Talking didn't save him, the girl says. Her voice is small but carries across the kitchen. It didn't save him, and it won't save anyone else. The mother's mouth opens, then closes. She turns, almost in panic, toward the walls, toward the crooked badge on the hook. You don't know. I know enough, the man says again, voice low and steady. Enough to protect her. The girl glances at him. There's fear there, yes, but also relief. She steps closer, small hand brushing the man's coat. I'm ready, she whispers. The mother flinches at the touch, as if it burns her. You're leaving, she hisses. You can't. The man steps forward, blocking any motion from her. She is leaving, he says firmly. With me. The sheriff swallows, stiff. His face pales. If she leaves, if you take her, he hesitates. You know the consequences. Good, the man replies simply. Finally. Someone understands. The mother stands frozen, trembling now, rage simmering with fear. You can't. The girl pulls slightly on the man's coat. I have to go, she says. You don't understand what you're doing, the mother whispers, voice shaking. I understand enough, the girl says, chin lifted. She is trembling, but her eyes are steady. The man folds the letter carefully and tucks it inside his coat. Then it's decided, he says. Time to leave this behind. The mother turns to the floor, mouth pressed tight. She swallows hard, her hands trembling as if grasping invisible chains. The sheriff shakes his head, uncertain, defeated, and takes a step back. The girl steps forward fully, hand in the man's, bruises and scars exposed, words unspoken now carrying the weight of everything that has happened. The mother whispers, barely audible, voice trembling with fury and grief, it wasn't supposed to be like this. The man's gaze meets hers steadily. It's already like this. The girl looks toward the back door, toward the old well that has witnessed so many nights of fear. She doesn't speak. She only steps closer to the man, ready to walk out of the kitchen, out of the house, out of the fear. The mother watches, lips parting as if to scream or call her back, but no sound comes. The air hangs heavy, thick with the residue of truth, lies, and years of silence. The man kneels slightly to the girl again, brushing hair from her face. Are you ready? She nods, small and fierce. I'm ready. Outside, the wind stirs dry leaves, rattling the loose boards of the porch. The house trembles slightly under the weight of its own secrets. The mother collapses onto a chair, chest heaving. The sheriff shifts in place, silent, unsure. The girl steps past them both, hand firmly in the man's, leaving the room heavy with tension and unresolved guilt. The man kneels beside her, keeping his voice low, steady. "You want to go?" She looks at him, eyes wide, lips pressed together. A long silence stretches between them, thick and heavy. She nods once, almost imperceptibly. The mother's scream cuts through the quiet like fire. "You'll not take what's mine. Property, blood, everything I've held for years." The man rises slowly, brushing dust from his coat. "There will be consequences," the sheriff warns, voice tight, each word deliberate. "Good," the man replies. The girl steps toward the back door. The wind hits her face, cold and sharp, and she flinches, pulling her shawl tighter around her. She turns back once, eyes sweeping over the house, the broken dishes, the crooked badge, the scars lining the walls, then whispers, "Don't burn it." The man tilts his head. "Don't burn it?" "Don't burn it," she repeats, voice firmer this time. She shivers, and the wind tugs at her hair. The words feel like a warning, almost a prayer. The mother paces, shoulders stiff, fists balled. "You can't, she belongs here. She's mine." The sheriff exhales, muttering under his breath, "This ain't over." His gaze flickers from the girl to the man, measuring, weighing, unsure of which side holds the law. They step onto the porch together. Her small boots scrape against the rough wood. The man keeps his hand lightly on her back, steadying, guiding, but giving her enough space to walk on her own. She doesn't run, she walks. Each step deliberate. The mother watches them leave. Her chest rises and falls rapidly. She collapses onto the top step, hands clutching the worn wood as if holding on could pull her daughter back. She whispers something inaudible, words lost to the wind. The girl glances over her shoulder once. She sees the mother's face, twisted with grief and anger, and something in her chest tightens. But she doesn't stop. She keeps walking. The man's eyes sweep the horizon, alert, scanning the path ahead. He does not speak, letting her lead herself forward. She walks as though claiming something that's always been hers, freedom, truth, maybe even revenge. The wind lifts the hem of her dress, whips through the loose strands of her hair. She breathes it in, the cold sharp against her lungs. For a moment, the years of fear and silence fall away with the autumn leaves swirling around her ankles. The man falls into step beside her. "You feel that?" he asks. "Yes," she says. It's different out here. No walls. No lies. Nothing hiding at all," he replies. She steps over a root, her boot catching slightly, and he steadies her without touching too firmly. She meets his eyes. "You said I was coming with you," she says. "I did," he replies. "And we're going where?" "Up," he says simply. "What's up?" "Truth," he answers. The girl considers that, lips pressed tight, eyes narrowed. Then she nods. She doesn't speak again, but the look in her eyes is one of understanding, of resolve, of something finally claimed. The porch creaks beneath them as they step onto the dirt path leading away from the house. Every footstep takes her farther from fear, farther from the mother's anger, farther from the law that was twisted and broken to hide lies. Behind them, the mother whispers again, words lost in the wind. The girl doesn't turn. She doesn't flinch. She walks forward, letting the wind carry her away from everything she's known, toward the mountains, toward the truth waiting at the end of the path. The man keeps pace beside her, silent, protective, and the road stretches out before them. Dust rises from the dry earth and settles in their wake, like the ghosts of the past finally exhaled. The girl pulls her coat tighter, eyes on the horizon. "Don't burn it," she repeats, almost to herself. The words hang in the air, a warning, a plea, a memory of everything left behind. The wind whispers around them. The mountains loom in the distance, dark and solid. She takes a deep breath, feeling the weight of the past and the pull of the unknown. Step by step, she leaves the porch. Step by step, the house shrinks behind her. Step by step, she claims herself again, small hands gripping the fabric of her courage. The man keeps watch, side by side, letting her lead while he guards, letting her take the first steps without fear. And behind them, the mother collapses on the porch, whispering words no one will ever hear, as the girl walks forward, into the wind, into the unknown, into what she has always deserved. The cabin sits dark against the mountains, smoke curling from the chimney but fire low on the hearth, barely lighting the walls. The girl stops at the threshold, boots dragging in the dust. Her hands curl into fists at her sides. "It's quiet," she says, voice small, almost fearful. "Quiet's safe," the man says, stepping beside her. "No. It's loud," she whispers, eyes darting to the corners of the cabin as if shadows are listening. "It's loud because it remembers." She doesn't step inside at first. Her gaze drifts to the yard, to the old well that stands like a dark sentinel behind the cabin. Moonlight catches the rim of it, and she shivers. "I heard him," she says suddenly. "That night. In the cell. He was yelling. They were there, you were there." Her voice breaks. She looks at the man, eyes wide and raw. "I screamed. And she silenced me." The man exhales slowly, stepping closer. "I know," he says softly. "You're safe now. No one will touch you here." The girl flinches. "I don't know how to be safe." Her voice trembles, small and fierce. "I don't know how to stop seeing it." "You start by knowing it's over. You start by knowing you're here. Not there. Not with them." He gestures toward the mountains looming dark beyond the cabin. "You're here, with me." The fire in the hearth crackles faintly but refuses to catch fully, smoke curling lazily into the rafters. It feels unnatural, alive. The girl notices, fingers brushing against the wall, feeling its rough edges. She steps slowly toward the old well, drawn to it, voice barely audible. "He's still talking," she whispers. The man follows, hand reaching out to stop her before she can touch the rim of the well. "No. You don't need to hear it now." "I have to," she says. Her steps are small, deliberate. She leans over the well, voice low. "I have to know." "You're safe," he repeats, firm, steady. "It's just a well. Just a memory. Nothing more." The girl's fingers curl into the stone edge. She sways slightly, lost in the images of that night, the screams, the hands, the faces she should have trusted but couldn't. She turns to him, eyes glistening. "It was them. They didn't care. They watched." "I know," he says quietly. "I know what they did." His jaw tightens. He remembers the father. He remembers the screams. He remembers what silence did. She sways toward the well again, sleepwalking, whispering words she doesn't quite understand herself. "He's telling me what to do, what I need." The man steps closer, steadying her, hand on her shoulder. "No. Not tonight. You're not alone. You're not afraid." "I can't stop seeing it," she whispers. Her voice is raw, small, but steady enough to carry meaning. "I can't stop hearing it." "You don't have to," he says. "Not here. Not now. You're with me. You're alive." She looks at him, eyes wide, trembling. "They found him. They found him and they didn't care. He needed me." "I know," he repeats, voice quiet but sharp. "And he got you. That's what matters. You're here." A gunshot echoes from the valley below, sharp and sudden. The girl flinches violently, eyes wide. The man steps in front of her instinctively, shielding her, scanning the horizon. "They found us," he mutters, voice low, teeth tight. The words hang heavy in the cold mountain air. The girl swallows, clenching her fists at her sides. "Then we fight?" she asks. Her voice is small, but fierce. "We survive," he says, voice steady. "We survive first. Then we make it right." The wind stirs around the cabin, rustling the dry leaves, shaking the timbers slightly. The girl glances toward the well one last time, fingers lingering near its edge. She doesn't speak. The dark stone is silent, but she knows it remembers. The man places a hand on her back, gently guiding her away. Come inside. Warmth. Shelter. We start there. She steps forward slowly, letting him lead, the weight of everything behind them pressing against her small shoulders. The fire flickers faintly in the hearth. The well stands silent, watching, waiting, but for now, the girl is safe. The sheriff's boots crunch on the cabin's porch long before the door swings open. He steps inside, deputies close behind, hands hovering near their holsters. Step away, he says, voice firm. She's coming with us. Now. The girl turns slowly, small shoulders tense, fists curling. Her voice cracks but holds, I left. The deputies glance at one another, hesitation flickering across their faces. The man steps forward, placing himself subtly between her and them. She's not coming with you. You can't prove nothing, one deputy mutters, jaw tight, glancing at the girl. We don't need proof, the man says evenly, voice sharp. We need people who see the truth. The sheriff steps closer, eyes flicking to the girl. You left without permission. That's kidnapping. The girl raises her chin, voice rising. He killed him. The words hit the room like a hammer. Silence falls. The deputies blink. The sheriff's hand twitches toward his holster. The mother suddenly appears behind the sheriff, pale and shaking. You brought this here, she whispers. Her eyes land on the girl. The girl stands, small and defiant, bruises and scars still showing. She doesn't flinch. You watched, the girl says, voice sharper now. You saw what they did. You did nothing. The mother's lips press tight. She cannot deny it. Her hands tremble at her sides. The fire in the cabin flickers, casting long shadows on the walls. The sheriff steps back, panicked now, eyes darting to the door. You can't. A gun discharges. The sound is sharp, splitting the room. The recoil shakes the hand that pulled the trigger, and the bullet strikes the well structure outside, splintering wood and sending water spilling darkly into the air. The girl jumps, flinching, but she stands her ground. The man steps forward instantly, shielding her from any further chaos. Stay behind me, he says, voice low but steady. The deputies freeze, hands hovering. The sheriff mutters curses, white-knuckling his weapon, unsure what to do next. The mother backs against the wall, eyes wide. It wasn't supposed to go that far, she whispers, voice raw. You watched, the girl repeats, voice stronger, more certain than before. She looks at the mother without mercy, without fear. You could have stopped it. The mother shakes, chest rising and falling fast. The sheriff lowers his weapon slightly, indecision clear in his eyes. The girl takes a small step forward. I'm not afraid, she says. The room seems to shrink around her certainty, the shadows bending with her will. The man places a hand on her shoulder gently. It's all right. You're safe. She nods, small but firm. Her gaze swings to the sheriff, to the deputies, to the mother. We're done hiding. The wind rattles the cabin boards. Outside, the well overflows with the dark water, symbolic of the chaos spilled inside. The mother's hands tremble, touching the splintered wood as if trying to hold on to control. The sheriff swears again under his breath. You can't. You can't stop what's already begun, the man says, voice cutting through the tension. The girl steps closer to him, taking his hand. Not as a child, but as someone claiming the first measure of her own power. The fire in the hearth burns low, shadows twisting, silent witnesses to the shift in control. The mother sinks slowly to the floor, shaking, whispering words that carry only to herself. The girl does not comfort her. She doesn't flinch. She stands firm, hand in the man's, eyes leveled on the chaos she has finally stepped out of. The deputies exchange glances, unsure whether to intervene. The sheriff mutters something about consequences, threats, authority, but his words fall flat against the certainty of the girl's stance and the man's protective presence. Outside, the wind continues to stir dry leaves. Inside, the room vibrates with the echo of gunfire, truth, and long-suppressed fear. The girl takes a deep breath, steadying herself. Her voice is small, but clear. "We leave now." The man nods, and together they step toward the back door. The mother remains on the floor, the sheriff and deputies frozen, and the cabin itself seems to sigh under the weight of years of lies finally exposed. The mother sits on the floor beside the splintered well, hands pressed to her knees, chest heaving. Her eyes are wide, glazed with tears and disbelief. I helped," she whispers, voice shaking. "I helped stage it. The suicide. I thought it would protect him. Protect us all. I didn't know." The man steps closer, voice low, controlled. "Protect? You let fear do it. That's not protection." The girl watches silently, small fists clenched, eyes sharp and unyielding. She doesn't step forward. She doesn't speak. She only listens. The sheriff shifts uncomfortably, glancing at the deputies who hang back, unsure. We could have fixed this," he mutters. If we'd. "You could have stopped it," the girl interrupts, voice cutting through the tension like a blade. "But you watched." He swallows hard. His jaw tightens. He doesn't answer. The man kneels beside the girl, hand brushing gently over hers. "It's time," he says softly. "Time to see." She steps forward slowly, towards the broken well, where the water spills dark and still. Fingers curl around something buried in the mud and shattered wood. She pulls out a rusted object, a pocket watch, tarnished but intact. Her father's. Proof. A witness to what was hidden, what was stolen, and what was silenced. "You buried him twice," she says to the mother, voice steady now, stronger than it has ever been. "Once in the ground. Once in lies." "You don't understand," the mother whispers, shaking. "I thought I could protect him, protect you." "I do now," the girl says, holding the watch tightly, eyes burning with clarity. She doesn't hand it to anyone. It's hers. The man steps beside her, steady, shadow stretching across the debris. "It's hers," he says quietly. "All of it." The sheriff takes a hesitant step forward. "That proof, it changes nothing. We need law's rules." The girl looks at him, voice unwavering. "You can't stop what's done. You watched. You let it happen. You can't stop me now." The deputies lower their weapons, glancing at the sheriff, then at the girl and the man. The balance in the room shifts. The mother collapses further onto the floor, tears running freely now. She reaches out, as if to plead, but the girl steps back, holding her ground. "I won't hate you," she says, voice softer now. "But I won't stay." The man turns slightly, hand brushing against hers, giving her space. The mother looks up at him, whispering, voice fragile and broken. "Will she be safe?" "She will be hers," he replies, voice low, certain. The girl takes a deep breath, holding the pocket watch close, the weight of the past pressing on her but no longer controlling her. She steps back from the well, from the mother, from the shadows. The sheriff hangs his head. His authority fractured, his power diminished. The mother slumps further, grief and regret pressing heavy against her chest. The girl does not comfort her. She does not move closer. She turns slowly, placing the pocket watch inside her coat. She looks at the man, who waits silently. "Let's go," he says. The girl nods. She steps past the mother, past the broken well, past the echoes of lies and death. Her small hand slips into the man's, but this time it is not of fear, it is of choice, of claim, of resolve. The fire flickers in the cabin hearth, safe, warm, steady behind them. The well is silent, witness to what has passed. Step by step, the girl leaves the house, leaving behind the grief, the lies, the fear. Step by step, she claims her own power. The girl stands at the edge of the clearing, hand in the man's, boots pressed into the dirt. The mountains rise dark ahead, jagged silhouettes against the fading light. She lifts her chin, eyes bright, resolute. She's not mine, the man says, voice low, certain. She's her own, he continues, and the words settle between them like the weight of truth finally recognized. The mother appears on the porch behind them, frail, eyes wide with grief and disbelief. She swallows, trembling. I'm sorry, she whispers, voice cracking. I did what I thought was right. You chose fear, the girl interrupts, voice steady, cutting, measured. That's what you chose. She doesn't look back at her mother again. The community gathers slowly at the edge of the clearing, whispers running like wind through dry leaves. Faces pale, some hardened, others shocked. The power structure of their small town feels exposed, fractured. The badge lies in the dirt, a symbol of authority undone. The man releases her hand for a moment, kneeling to pick it up and dust it off. He sets it aside. This isn't about me, he says. It's about what she chooses. The girl steps forward, taking his hand again, not as a child clinging for safety, but as someone claiming equality, agency, and the first measure of her own power. He meets her gaze, nods once. Where we going? She asks. Up, he replies. What's up? Truth, he says, voice firm. The word carries weight, promise, and inevitability. She takes a deep breath, letting the wind carry it, feeling the mountains ahead press against her, solid and unyielding. Step by step, she begins walking, hand in his, boots crunching on the earth. Behind them, the cabin fire burns low, steady, and safe. The well sits silent, a witness to what has been revealed, what has been survived. The mother remains on the porch, eyes fixed on her daughter's retreating figure. She whispers, will she be safe? She will be hers, the man answers quietly, voice carrying just enough for her to hear. The girl glances up at the mountains, chest rising and falling, heart steadying with each step. Her resolve solidifies. She is no longer prey, no longer held by fear. The wind moves through the trees, through the dirt path, over the broken well and past the cabin. Every leaf, every stone, every shadow seems to acknowledge her claim. She walks not as someone taken, but as someone finally choosing her own path. Step by step, she and the man ascend toward the mountains. Step by step, toward the truth waiting at the summit, toward what is hers to hold. The fire burns safely in the cabin behind them, witness to closure, warmth surviving the cold of years past. The well is silent, its darkness settled. She wasn't taken, the man says, voice low, carrying over the wind. She walked, the girl says, small smile on her lips. Determined, fierce, alive. They continue upward, toward the mountains, toward the truth, hand in hand. The shadows of the past stretch behind them but cannot follow. The sun rose slowly, pale gold spilling over the pasture, illuminating the repaired fence. Eli stood beside it, hands resting lightly on the top rail. Mara stood close, her children between them. The morning air smelled of smoke, dust, and faint dew, a mixture that carried the weight of the nights they had survived. You can stay, Eli said, voice steady, but soft. We won't be charity, Mara replied, eyes sharp, measuring him. I'm not offering charity, he said, glancing at Thomas and Ruth, who clung together like a single small force of resilience. Then what? Mara asked, tone wary but curious. A partnership, Eli said finally. We work together. You live here. You belong here. But you're not guests. You're part of this land now. Thomas blinked, uncertain. Inside the fence? Eli nodded, letting the sun warm his back. Inside the fence. No more sleeping outside. No more wandering where you don't belong. This is yours too, in part. We protect it together. Ruth's small hand reached out, touching the wood of the fence post. She pressed her palm against it, slow, deliberate. No more sleeping outside, she whispered. Eli smiled faintly, his chest still tight from the nights they had endured. No more, he said. Mara let a breath out she hadn't realized she'd been holding. Why'd you help us? She asked finally. Eli paused, letting his gaze linger on the children, their small forms steady, alive, unbroken. He looked at Mara, at the evidence of what had come before, the fire, the letters, the nights of fear, and then at the fence, repaired and standing. Because you didn't cross the line, he said quietly. I did. Mara's eyes widened slightly, comprehension dawning. The weight of responsibility, the acts of survival, the fences both literal and symbolic, they had all shifted tonight. Eli had crossed boundaries he had once defended blindly, and in doing so, had drawn a new line, one that meant protection rather than exclusion. Thomas shifted closer to Mara, then finally looked up at Eli. We stay? He asked, voice small, hopeful. Yes, Eli said. We stay. Ruth's hand lingered on the fence post, then slid into Eli's palm briefly, a silent acknowledgement, a tether between the past and what came next. She didn't need to speak to assert it, the gesture said it all. The barn behind them still smelled faintly of smoke. The pasture stretched wide and empty beyond the fence, dotted with the distant shapes of grazing cattle. The land was theirs now, in a way it never had been, shaped not only by contracts or ownership, but by survival, courage, and the willingness to stand against those who had thought power absolute. Mara's lips curved in a small, almost imperceptible smile. I guess we'll need to repair the barn too, she said, eyes glinting with determination. Eli nodded, looking over the structures, the fence, the open fields. We'll do it together. Every post, every beam. No one does it alone. Thomas and Ruth ran a few steps ahead toward the barn, laughter bubbling quietly, fragile but real, mixing with the soft morning wind. Mara followed, then Eli, closing the small distance between them, walking not as a guard or a gatekeeper, but as one who had chosen to stand beside them. He paused at the fence gate, hands resting again on the warm wood. The line was no longer a barrier. It was a beginning. He looked back at Mara, then the children, and felt a strange, fragile peace settle over him. The nights of fear, the letters, the fires, the threats, they had all led here. The gate remained open. The fence stood, but it no longer divided. It marked a promise, a choice, a new kind of boundary, one of care, vigilance, and respect. Eli inhaled the morning air, letting it fill his lungs. Mara's hand brushed his arm as she passed, a quiet acknowledgement. Thomas ran ahead, Ruth following close, their small feet stirring the dirt and dust, marking the beginning of a new day. He lowered his gaze to the fence, feeling its warmth and solidity beneath his palms. The line he had once defended blindly now held something different, life, trust, and the fragile beginnings of justice. Mara glanced back, meeting his eyes. We'll work it together, she said, voice steady. Eli nodded. Together. The family moved forward, walking through the gate willingly, not as fugitives, not as guests, but as equals. The fence stood behind them, repaired and steadfast, a symbol not of separation, but of the choice to protect, to endure, and to start again. The morning light stretched across the pasture, golden and patient, illuminating the barn, the fence, and the family stepping into the day as one. Eli watched them, letting the moment hold, knowing that for the first time in a long while, the line he drew had become something good. He rested a hand lightly on the fence, letting the weight of the past settle behind him. Ahead lay labor, repair, and vigilance, but also laughter, survival, and trust. The land waited, ready to witness the quiet redemption of a cowboy who had chosen mercy over indifference. The gate swung slightly in the breeze. The fence was intact, open, and holding the line not against them, but with them. And in that simple act, Eli felt the world shift.